You are listening to Cinema Rex. It's an Iranian film podcast, episode 68, Marjane Satrapi and Vincent Paronnaud, Chicken with Plums, and a tribute to Marjane Satrapi. Good morning. Durud bar shoma dostan aziz. This is Cinema Rex podcast, where we talk all things Iranian films and cinema and art and history and culture and acting and writing and directing and producing and...
Plums, chickens, violins.
Plums and chickens. I'm Kaveh Mohebi.
And I'm Farhan Moradi.
And we are bringing to you an episode that is probably going to have an overall somber tone because we're recording this on June 8th, 2026. And I believe it's only been 4 days since the tragic passing of Marjane Satrapi.
Yeah.
Acclaimed writer, graphic novelist, illustrator, artist, filmmaker, director, producer, writer. I think did some acting too in one of her films.
Prolific artist.
Just for any of you who might not recognize, a quick little overview on Satrapi. Marjane Satrapi was an Iranian and French graphic novelist, film director, and children's book author. Her best-known works include the graphic novel Persepolis and its film adaptation, the graphic novel Chicken with Plums, Embroideries was another work of hers. She did the Women Life Freedom. Do you have that book, the Women Life Freedom book?
I
she
do,
did?
yeah.
That came out?
Yeah, I was hoping to get it autographed by her.
Yeah.
But she knew of our show and she liked the concept and she wanted to come onto the show.
Yeah. She also did a Marie Curie biopic called Radioactive, which stars Rosamund Pike. Sort of interesting departure from adapting her own work. She just made this she directed this feature film.
I didn't know that.
Born to Ebi and Taji Satrapi, prosperous social idealists who she described her parents as caviar leftists. So they supported their only child's devotion to independence, but decided to remain in Iran themselves because she attended the Lycée Français in Tehran until the Iranian Revolution. But when she was 21, Satrapi married a veteran of the Iran-Iraq War, whom she later divorced. She then moved to Strasbourg, France, to study at the Haute École des Arts du Rhin, R-H-I-N, Rennes. I'd say it right that time. I got it.
Yeah.
Her parents encouraged her to stay in Europe permanently. Although her parents sent her to Vienna to flee the Iranian regime in 1984, she later returned to Tehran for college, studied illustration at the Strasbourg School of Decorative Arts. I'm kind of jumping around here. She wrote an illustrated column in the New York Times op-ed section. She lived in Marais district of Paris with her Swedish husband who had passed away last year. Comics Alliance listed Satrapi as one of 12 women cartoonists deserving of lifetime achievement recognition. The success of her graphic novel Persepolis established Satrapi as one of the most widely read Iranian authors in the world, and her role in co-directing the film adaptation led to her becoming the first woman to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature.
Oh, wow.
Apart from her native language, Farsi, she spoke 5 other languages: French, English, Swedish, German, and Italian. And of course, it was announced that Satrapi passed away on June 4th, 2026, 4 days ago from the time of this recording. And as I mentioned earlier, the cause of her death by her friends was described as sadness. Farhan, what did Marjane Satrapi mean to you?
She was the first voice, Iranian voice, that I experienced that expressed a different version of Iran than one that was dominant in the diaspora. And from there, it kind of, reading her book, it really opened up an avenue to start to study and learn and read about other aspects of Iranian culture and history and philosophy than what was the norm. So it was because of her that my understanding of Iran, really was able to be broadened.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I kind of feel like it's the thing I was thinking about when I was thinking about her, and what I would say is it did seem like for me a bridge to what my culture can represent in the arts.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned this in the Persepolis podcast, which we did with Kaveh Taherian. There was a time when my mom still does this, but she always, bless her, tries to infuse as much Iranian culture into my upbringing as much as she can. She does it through the arts. And she'd often talk about Sufism or the poems of Hafez, Rumi, and as a teenager, I was never that. I wasn't so quick to grasp onto Hafez or Rumi. I would just rather be into the weird. I was watching Simpsons and South Park and stuff. But I remember one time she came home with a copy of Persepolis, and it was comic book essentially from my eyes. I'm like, whoa, what is this? And just to see that like an Iranian artist has created this comic book that is telling the story of her story, but her people as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like instantly. It was like the first time my mom had presented me with a gift that was an olive branch of our culture that from this divide that we felt that we had between us, and I instantly was like welcoming of it because it was like okay, this I'm interested in, like, a comic book, hell yeah, like in a lot of ways like our version of Mouse, the Art Spiegelman, it's like it was all of a sudden like a bridge to talk about uncomfortable things about our past, and she created that. Like that would not exist without her, of course. And I think for a lot of people it's a very similar thing, especially for Iranians in the diaspora,
Yeah. And I was like a big comic book fan growing up too, so it was definitely a way in that I was like, oh, this is something I'm familiar with. Like it was like taking two worlds that I was familiar with that never intersected and like mash them together, which was really fresh.
I did reach out to some past guests, a lot of artists, actors, directors, to kind of get a quick thought on what Marjane Satrapi means or represents for them. So here's a quick little snippet of some of the things that people had written in for us.
Hey guys, this is Kaveh Taherian. I'm a cartoonist and filmmaker. If you listen to the Persepolis episode of this podcast, that was me. And I mean, honestly, how can I even explain what Marjane Satrapi meant to me? I mean, I'm Iranian. I write and draw graphic novels. I make movies. I mean, that's it. She was the one. She was the North Star. And not only was she such a bold and unafraid storyteller, she also had this very remarkable ability to be gentle and vulnerable when the story called for it. And I always admired her for putting herself out there as much as she did. I lament never getting to meet her, and honestly, I find it to be a great, great cosmic injustice to have her taken from us now in this moment, because voices like hers don't come along that often. But, I guess in her passing, I feel even more driven to tell personal stories and do my best to make her proud. So rest in peace, Marji. We love you, and we'll miss you forever.
My name is Jasmine Mozafari, and Marjane's work was really inspiring to me when I discovered it because I was probably 20 years old. And I remember seeing Persepolis, and that's one of the first Iranian diaspora works I'd ever seen. So I think that she really is a trailblazer because her films don't even just reach the Iranian audience. They go way beyond that. And I continue to be inspired by her work today.
Hey, my name is Sina Dolati. I'm an artist and filmmaker. One attribute of Marjane Satrapi's work that I find so astonishing is that it just resonates with so many different people, not only Iranians within Iran, not only Iranians in the diaspora who have never been to Iran, but also many non-Iranians around the world. I think Persepolis introduced so much of Iranian culture to people who have never encountered it before, as well as expressing the Iranian struggles in a very unique, creative, and honest way. And in fact, the first time I encountered Persepolis was in a cinema class in undergraduate studies, and there weren't many Iranian people in the class. I think it was just such a global phenomenon, and definitely helped me find my voice as well.
Hi, I'm Aisha Jamal, and to me, Marjane Satrapi is a vital part of what I teach in my world cinema course. I teach her film Persepolis as a counterweight to looking at more classical Iranian films that take place in Iran and are very well known, like Kiarostami cinema or Bakhmalbas cinema. But Satrapi cinema is a cinema of exile, it's a cinema of diaspora, and I like teaching it also because it is so very different. It's a funny film. It's a film that's very autobiographical, and it's a film that also has so many layers and themes, and students find it really exciting. And above all, I always find that my international students gravitate to the work of Satrapi. So I will continue to teach her, but it'll probably be in a little bit of a different tone now that she is dead.
Hi, my name is Sina Haddad, and I think to me, Marjane Satrapi's work was enlightening because it gave me a sense of what my mom went through leaving Iran after the revolution. It kind of opened my eyes in a very creative way, and just the way she put those graphic novels together, the way she put that film together, I think has influenced a whole generation of us Iranians. It gave us a voice in the mainstream that we didn't have before. And I think I always remember her for giving us that um, representation and being a pioneer for Iranian artists in the mainstream.
Hi, my name is Taraq Dashlu, and to me, Marjane Satrapi is an amalgamation of all that is beautiful and painful about being Iranian. I discovered her as a young woman, a recent immigrant to Toronto, trying to figure out the disorientation of diaspora and what it meant to leave your heart behind in a country that is always inside of you, like a toxic ex who also happens to be the love of your life. Marjane gave language to that entanglement. She encapsulated Iran's rich history, vibrant society, and all its contradictions with such clarity at a time that everything felt overbearingly complex. Her voice gave the voices in my head a sense of order, a sense of space, a sense of hope. Marjane showed us how we can be all the things at once: nostalgic, contemporary, subversive, a rebel, a romantic, in love, an intellectual who is not always right, not one thing or the other, everything. And she will always be that for me, everything.
Hi, I'm Afra Nariman, and to me, Marjane Satrapi represents the vitality of art in humanizing our people, our history, and our collective memories. Each time I watch Persepolis, I'm moved by the immense fragility and integrity she was able to so empathetically capture the stories I grew up hearing from my parents. Persepolis ultimately tells the story of why I'm here and not there. Her work has this unparalleled ability to blend horror with laughter and despair with hope. To be Iranian today often means our history is either erased or altered, but Marjane Satrapi's art will remain with us forever, preserving a delicate truth, a reminder of who we are and what we come from. Marjane Satrapi is a reminder that as long as we have meaningful art, we have the means to a better future.
Marjane Satrapi had an immense effect on me as an artist, and I think on every other Iranian diaspora artist in the world. She was the first to really break through and tell our stories in remarkable, profound, and universal ways. I remember when Persepolis came out, it was the first time that something Iranian was so popular. Everyone was reading it, everyone was talking about it. It was such a huge hit. And then the film came out and it was the same. And I was just in awe of how much of an effect our stories can have on other people too. Until then, I felt like Iranian stories were just ours. But I realized very quickly that they were more universal than I could have imagined. And that's what inspired me to tell my own stories. It was the first time I really felt inspired to tell my own story.
Hello, this is Ruzbe Haydari. To me, Marjane Satrapi and her works were the reason so many of us started to feel seen outside of Iran. At a time when it was hard to escape the stereotypes of being Iranian in the West, her stories brought a new and necessary perspective to the narrative here. With Persepolis, she told the kinds of stories many Iranians recognize immediately but rarely know how to explain to others. The childhood memories shaped by war, revolution, morality police, executions, parties hidden behind closed doors, exile, fear mixed with humor, and ordinary family life carrying on under impossible conditions. These are experiences so dark, so absurd, and so specific that sometimes you would hesitate to even bring them up because you wonder if anyone outside of it would believe you. But Satrapi has made those memories visible. She gave them shape, wit, pain, love, and dignity. For the Iranian diaspora, it was more than representation. It was recognition, and that is a rare and powerful gift. Thank you, Marjane Satrapi.
Yeah, so touching tributes from everyone. This is a very interesting film because I don't think you've seen the film either. Chicken with Plums was her 2011 feature, live action feature that she wrote and directed with Vincent Paronnaud, who's also the co-director she made Persepolis with. Persepolis, of course, a lot more people would have seen. Like I had seen that film before when we covered it, but I had never seen this film before. Had you? Is this your first time seeing this film?
First time.
And it's interesting because upon watching this film, I started realizing that it's in a very tragic way, very much paralleling what her tragic fate is.
Yeah.
It is a story about a man who decides he no longer wants to live anymore. And we'll get into the details of that. I mean, just for the gloss over some of the Coles notes, it's like, well, we'll get to plot summary in a second, but for those of you who don't know, Marjane Satrapi was announced that she had passed away 4 days ago, and the official explanation that's on record from friends is due to sadness. Take that for what you will, but it's also known that her husband and the love of her life, as she had described him, had passed away a year ago. So she was obviously dealing with a lot of melancholy over the last year, and she's been open about, she's an Iranian French cigarette smoking artist who wears her heart on her sleeve and feels, she feels that, what's that? It's not an angst, but what is it? I mean, it is melancholy, but what, that like French oeuvre of like the embrace of deep sadness that exists amongst French writers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Life is pain, like that smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
She kind of like encompassed that in a lot of her interviews. So, yeah, it's a really devastating loss to Iranian art community.
Have you met Niaz Salimi?
I don't think so.
She reminds me so much of Marjane Satrapi.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, she does, eh?
Yeah, like as a
she
person.
was old. She's older though.
Yeah, she's older. I just mean like her vibes.
Right. Yeah. So let's dive into a plot summary of Chicken with Plums. When his beloved violin is broken, famed musician Nasser Ali Khan loses the will to live. Unable to find a replacement for the instrument, Nasser decides to retreat to his bed and await death. As he waits, Nasser plunges deep into a reverie and experiences dreams both joyous and melancholic. He speaks with Azrael, the angel of death, who reveals the future of Nasser's children. As pieces of a puzzle fall together, the poignant secret of Nasser's life emerges. This has a 74% Rotten Tomato score that is certified fresh, and a 71% audience score. So I asked you, Farhan June, what did you think of Chickens with Plums?
I overall liked it. It's a really sad movie.
Yeah.
I texted you after I watched it because it was like, then I had to go to bed and I was like, well, I just finished the movie. I don't know how I'm going to be able to sleep after this.
Yeah.
It's like very, very sad, and it ends on a very sad note. And in a lot of ways, it grabs a lot of that melodrama of Iranian culture and the melancholy of the French, and it like blends it together.
Uses them.
And it ends up heightening both of them.
Yeah, she talks a lot about that in the interview she did at Stanford University. She did an interview for this film. And yeah, she's definitely pulling on those.
Yeah. A lot of times when you see someone going from animation or VFX or something into directing live action, it doesn't translate very well. They end up getting really limited. But I think in this case, you can definitely find that through line from Persepolis to this, where she takes that hyper stylized approach from Persepolis and adapts it into live action. And it's really interesting to watch. And it's a sign of a really good director. And like watching this movie, I would think that this is a director who's on their like 10th movie.
Oh, interesting.
Like it's hyper stylized and done so well, the directing. Just a couple general thoughts that I jotted down. When the main character shows up, I wrote, oh, hey, it's Le Chiffre. Because this is the guy who plays Le Chiffre in James Bond.
Oh, yeah. Right. I remember him from The Diving Bell and Butterfly. The lead actor. His name is Mathieu Amalric.
The way also that she's able to take really serious subjects or serious bits of information and present them in like a kind of funny, tongue-in-cheek way. Like how they use opium to put the kid to sleep, and then in the next scene, the kid's asking for more opium.
Yeah, that was very funny.
Yeah. overall, even the cast is stacked.
Yeah,
and I
great
have
cast.
like mixed feelings about it.
Isabella Rossellini.
Yeah,
Golshifteh Farahani.
yeah. I've seen Goldschifte's French before, so I was like, oh yeah, she's like fluent. I had never heard Rossellini speak French, and I was like, oh, like I just assumed it was just like she would speak French the way that she speaks English, like with an Italian accent.
Right.
But it was immaculate.
Right. Yeah.
But I also have mixed feelings on the casting because I'm like, why not just cast a bunch of Iranians? But I guess part of it is like the hyper stylizedness of it, and she also talks about how she saw France as her home as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if part of this was like her trying to lean on two sides of her.
Yeah. She does answer that in the interview. I'll get to some of that in the behind the scenes and trivia.
What were your overall thoughts of the film?
I really enjoyed the aesthetics of the film. It's very stylized. He says it does at times feel like a graphic novel. This entire film was shot on a soundstage. Take that for what it's worth, because at times it feels. One of the earliest notes I made was the production design is insane. Like I thought it was like really detailed and cool. And okay, correct. Just like to get this out of the way, is this setting France or is the setting Iran?
Setting's Iran.
The whole film taking place in Iran, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a few times where they mention that then the son left during the Iranian war, but then there's like the times like you see the Eiffel Tower too, like through storytelling. Like later on, the child grew up in France. Anyways, it doesn't matter. It was
they moved.
They moved to France.
Like she moves to France, and then the brother moves to the U.S.
Yeah, okay. That's why I was just trying to be... Because at first, because they were speaking French, I thought this was about Iranians living in France.
Oh, I thought it was about French people living in Iran.
Oh, that's interesting. And then when he goes to like, he hears the legend that like Mozart's violin might be enrashed. I was like, are they traveling from France to Iran to go to Rash?
Right.
But it makes more sense because then, there's like a weird bit of thing where like, he's in the bazaars in Rash and he's speaking to everyone in French still.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, is this just we're doing this for the purposes of cinema or whatever?
Yeah, there was a moment there where I was like, oh, did this French guy just happen to find another French guy? Because like, at that point in Iran, French was definitely like after Farsi, French was the next language that people could learn in schools. It was like an aristocratic language for the educated when education wasn't like widely available.
Yeah.
You could go study Persian, and then the next language you would learn after that is French.
Yeah.
So that was just my assumption.
And the film starts, remember the opening words of the film?
Yeah, Yeki bud, yeki nabud.
Yeah.
In the first draft of Tehranto, that was the original first words of Tehranto too, yeah. It was like almost verbatim the way that it started, but we cut it out.
Do you remember the rest? Do you know the rest of that quote?
Ghair az khoda hich kas nabud.
Yeah. I remember learning that at a young age, and that's like our once upon a time.
Yeah.
But it means there once was a person, there once wasn't a person.
Yeah.
Or there was a person, there wasn't a person. Other than God, there was nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts with that quote, and it's set in 1958 Iran, I'm guessing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the main character, Nasser Ali, he's, the overall plot for just in like brass, big picture notes is it's about the last 8 days before he's decided he's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not going to die through this like grand act of committing suicide. He's literally decided, I'm going to lie in bed and wait for death. And then the film is broken into the 8 days and the events that take place to him to each day leading up to his death. And I mean, this might count as a small spoiler. I don't think it necessarily does. But you learn right before the first day starts that he will accomplish this goal.
Yeah.
Because you see
like
the
it
funeral and it's like
forward,
he died on this day. Yeah. And it's like he died. And he's like, let me tell you about how day one went.
Yeah,
so unless you find out there's going to be some sort of like hoodwinked, like Sting style switch and bait and switch, like you just know this is how the story is going to end.
There's a ton of punchlines that land in editing in this film.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where it'll be like, I'll never do this. And then it cuts to the person doing the thing.
Yeah, taking the son.
Yeah.
He didn't want to take his son with him to Rash.
Yeah, there's like, it happens constantly. So even this thing of like, he decides to die, he closes the door and it just cuts to his funeral.
Yeah.
And then it's like, actually, let's talk about it.
Yeah. I think that I wrote this also in a really good example of cross-cultural storytelling done right. With the exception of, I'm going to jump a little bit ahead early to like Festival of Cons. I wish there was more Iranians playing these roles.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the proper way to do storytelling when you're cross-cultural adaptation working cohesively rather than appropriation, like this feels like a perfect marriage. Like Vincent Paronnaud and Marjane Satrapi clearly have this great working established relationship. Vincent is a French-born French director.
Yeah.
Marjane is a transplant from Iran living in France. And now they're doing this perfect marriage of like Iranian culture and French culture. It actually really does come together like a fine dish, I think. You know what I mean? It blends itself to each other really nicely.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. How did you find anything in your research about how they met?
No. I think it's going back to way before Persepolis days.
Yeah, for sure. That I would assume, but I think
it was just curious. I think it was through that process. I don't think they knew each other before that.
Right.
But yeah, just like overall, my notes, like production design, like the cafes, the little ghost images that you see. There's that puff of smoke later on with his mother smoking the puff of smoke. There's a bus trip they take to Rasht, and it shows like this bus careening off the roads on the side of the mountains. It's all very well designed. Like the imagery is beautiful.
I do wish, you know how a lot of those like wide exteriors are like painted and it's like hyper stylized.
Yeah.
I find the later ones are way more stylized than the first few.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they're on the bus.
I feel like the one on the bus
travel. I thought the ones on the bus travel should have been more stylized.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because it like almost looked a little too realistic, and then it started to like it hit like a weird middle ground.
I didn't think it looked realistic at all, especially when they show the exterior shot of the bus moving.
Yeah.
I thought it looked almost like graphic novel come to life.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's a musical cue that plays that sounds like a perfect blending of Iranian and French music. It was really cool. And again, it sort of mirrors what the overall oeuvre of this film is. What did you think about Nasser Ali, the character, as a character?
He like weirdly feels a lot more empty at the beginning of the movie. But like in the last 5-10 minutes, there's this like long montage that recontextualizes the rest of the film, which retroactively adds a lot of depth to his character.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, I liked his character a lot more. I don't know how I feel about the depth of a character being the reveal or the twist of the film. I'm like still processing it. I like it.
Well, there's a cool thing about how now I'm going to go into like what is a bit of a spoiler, but like if you enjoy Satrapi's work and you've read, especially if you read the Chicken and Plums graphic novel, definitely check out this film. One thing I'll say is there's a moment that you kind of realize that his death is not going to be a spoiler. Like that's something you're going to know. But the thing that has become the tipping point of why he's decided to end his life, it's not so much like, you know, that his violin is broken. Yeah. His violin is broken in pieces and he can't find a proper replacement for it. And you see him trying one from the corner shop. It doesn't hit the right note. He travels to Rasht to find this like infamous violin that Mozart owned. It's still not doing it for him. And that's when he decides he can no longer live. And you realize the reason why the violin that broke meant so much to him. And you don't realize that until the end, which recontextualizes why his depression has hit this tipping point, right? And that's almost the twist of the film. It's not that he's going to die. It's what was the breaking point for him.
Yeah.
Right? And spoilers for this, but you realize that through the course of the film, a fight that he had with his wife, who was very upset with him for not being a present husband and father, an attentive husband and father, she breaks the violin, the one that he loves. And you realize that that violin is significant to him because the woman he actually loved many years ago, before he even met his wife, played by Golshifteh Farahani, it was the love of his life. It was his soulmate, the true one. They were supposed to be together. And, essentially her father wouldn't allow his hand, her hand for marriage because he's just this musician and won't be able to provide for her. And
Kava, I just realized something. Sorry, go ahead.
And he puts all his soul and pain and suffering into playing on that violin. So that violin becomes an extension of Golshifteh Farahani's character for him. And once that violin is broken, it's like, it's the final nail in the coffin that he can't ever be with this woman.
Yeah.
And it's not that he's this despicable, unlikable guy, because we talk a lot about like, it's okay if a character can be unlikable. Are they interesting? And I think this film succeeds. Whereas like we sort of argued in like Santuri, maybe like it's not so much. But I feel like this guy's very unlikable. He's not a present father to his kids and all this stuff. He doesn't want to be around his family.
Yeah.
But then you realize it's like, this was never the family he should have been with. Like he fell in love with this woman, and then the marriage that he ends up with the woman that he's married to is like something he's kind of thrown into. And it's devastating because you're really realizing that at no point was he living the life he wanted.
Yeah. Also,
and that becomes the sad tragedy.
I think I figured out the casting, and I think it's brilliant now that I'm thinking about it, because in a lot of ways, Golshifte's character, like the violin is a stand-in for Golshifte's character, and Golshifte's character is 100% a stand-in for Iran.
Yeah, her name is Iran.
Yeah, well, Iran, but yeah. Her name is Iran, and it. I think to me, it's like, oh, okay, all these other characters are played by French people because that's representing Marjane and her life in France and all this stuff.
Yes,
and I think the heartbreak around Iran, is her heartbreak around Iran, even to the point where he runs into her the second time. Like he's built up this like romanticized version of her when they're not allowed to be together. Yeah. Even though they want to be together, they're forced by the patriarch to be separated. Yeah. And when they're reunited very briefly, she's like, he's rejected by her.
Yeah. Well, she claims to not recognize. She claims to not recognize him.
And the second that he leaves, we see that she's crying. She did recognize him.
Yeah.
And it messes him up. And he falls into this bout of depression, which to me is like, oh, this is like very much about Marjane leaving Iran falling into disrepair because of like patriarchy, all this stuff. She goes back to Iran briefly, is scorned by it, and then has to leave.
You, my eloquent friend, are stepping all over my fucking deeper analysis, but that is fine because it's great.
It hit me in real time.
That's good.
I'm sorry.
That's good. Also, like Satrapi says in her interview with Stanford that is her name is Iran. Like I think they in some like on IMDb it's Iran with an E, but like it's the name Iran, which she says is a feminine name in Persian culture.
Yeah.
And she was like, it's definitely supposed to represent that. What I didn't actually necessarily catch so much is the idea of the casting of the French actors representing France, which is a great point you're making. But like that love sickness of the woman she's missing and never can be with again is definitely supposed to represent her motherland.
Yeah.
So great point there. Also from like a humanistic point too, it still kind of tracks that like Golshifte's character, Iran. And Satrapi does say this too. It's like she realizes when she meets the reunited in a passing moment on the street, she has to pretend like she doesn't recognize him because to acknowledge him would be to question her whole life. That was exactly Satrapi's words. It's like to acknowledge this moment of like, oh, I recognize who you are and all this stuff. It'd be like, it's like, what have I done with my entire life, marrying this other guy and having these kids? It's a little bit actually like La La Land, the ending of La La Land, if you remember, where you get this fantasy version of what their life should have been like, but how it actually ended up. There's also really fun stuff they do where like Azrael, the angel of death, sits on his bed on the seventh day and is like sitting there. It's like almost comedic. Like he's literally like the cloaked death figure, but with like bright eyes, standing there and like manipulating the room so that he can't run away. Yeah, very scary. That stuff was really kind of. It's a charming film.
Do you remember?
It's a charming film about death.
What that made me realize is that the puppet scene that they're watching, like the puppet show.
Yeah.
So one of those characters has got to be Azrael, the angel of death, as well, because he looks just like him.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. I have a lot on BTS, so I'm kind of done with our reactions.
Yeah, me too.
So if you have any more, go for it.
I'm done.
Okay. Behind the scenes in trivia. It's based on the graphic novel. The idea for her to write this as the graphic novel came to her when she was thinking about how there's something missing about the Iranian love story. She'd read a lot of Iranian love stories and poetry, but she felt like there was still something missing. And she was influenced by the story of Attar. You know Attar the poet? Attar and like the Sufi poet, and like how he became a Sufi and a poet. Do you know that story?
No.
My mom told me this story quite often, and so I heard Marjane Satrapi repeat it, and I was like, oh yeah, my mom really likes telling the story. Attar is a shopkeeper working in Iran millennia ago or whatever, and he's met by this homeless person who asks him for money, and the shopkeeper Attar says, no, like, stop bothering me, I won't give you any money. And the homeless person asks him, if you won't give up even $1 to me, how are you going to give up your life when the time comes to give up your life? And Attar says, I'm going to give it up the same way you are. How are you going to give up your life? And the homeless person goes, I'm going to give up my life like this. And he lies down and just dies in front of the shopkeeper.
Whoa.
And Attar is so shook by this act of like, it's almost like this like Buddhist ability to be like, I am not that connected to this life. Like I can just part with this life like that he quits his shop and becomes the Sufi poet to like discover the meaning of life and all this stuff. Like that's like his origin story, right?
That's crazy.
That's the version my mother had told me. So if there are like, save your comments in the DMs of Haran. Like this is just the version. Stories can adapt and change over time, but that is essentially the version. And Marjane tells a version of that story too in the Stanford interview. So she was like really moved by this idea of like the ability for someone to just give up their life. She said at one point, if there's no will or wish to live, then one can just die just by deciding to. They don't want to be alive. And what is the best reason for deciding not to what is the best reason for deciding to want to die, if not for love? This was a direct quote Satrapi said 5 years ago, 2021 during COVID.
Yeah.
The story is based on Satrapi's uncle from her mother's side, who was a great musician, who died under unknown circumstances in a mysterious way. He was in real life actually a guitar player, but she changed it to violin. But apparently the thing is that he would play guitar in his back garden so much that it would actually slow down traffic in Iran. And he just died one day, and they think it was because of a broken heart. She said, this film has to do with the theme of death, which is my obsession, quote, and how can it not be? She was obsessed with the idea of death. She says that I find myself in Nasser Ali more than she finds herself in any other character she ever wrote, including the lead character in Persepolis. She goes, he's an artist, he's brokenhearted. I found it easy to hide myself in him. And despite the fact that he's a man and he's a musician, she was a woman and cartoonist, but she was like, this is my surrogate for my emotions.
Have you looked at her Instagram page?
No.
Her posts spell out for I lost the love of my life, Matthias.
Yeah.
Like multiple, like one post per word.
Very sad. She mentions the unlikability of the character. One person asked this question. She goes, the character had a broken heart and married the wrong woman and was living the wrong life. I don't think he's a sympathetic character, but I like him because of that. Because he doesn't try to be sympathetic or nice. And at one point he gives up and decides to die. And she says, yes, you can say some people are nasty, but I'm trying to show what it means, what it takes to turn these people into nasty people. And she said she has a kind of affinity for nasty, grouchy, as you can say, bad akhlaq people. She actually likes them. About the title, she says, the day we lose the pleasure of eating is the day we die. She goes, taste is one of the best pleasures in life, up there with love and all that stuff. And she goes, in the film, the moment she says, I made you your favorite meal, chicken and plums, which she said is her favorite dish. It's aloo mosama. I've never had it. Aloo mosama.
Is that the same thing as khorsha aloo?
She used that term, and I looked it up, and it's a Persian dish. I just haven't had it. I'm sure the listeners know this dish. We've had a lot of chicken and plum dishes. I haven't had that specific one that she said was her favorite. But she goes, the wife in this story makes Nasser Ali that dish, and he's like, I've lost my taste for food. She said the thing was in her family that they used to call this dish the breasts of Sophia Loren because Sophia Loren's breasts were the best. It was like the most desired and best breasts. So she said that the joke in her family was that they were like the breasts of Sophia Loren. This chicken and plums dish, which there's the reference to, right?
Yeah.
Remember when she walked in, they walked past the way. She says, they asked them why in French? Why make this film in French and not in Farsi? And she goes, I can't work with Iranian actors because of my reputation. The best Iranian actors who live there can't work with me because they have to go back to Iran. And she said in 2021, I can't find the Iranian actors. Like, I can't find that many Iranian actors in this country to work with, so my options are limited. Which I think is changing. She said this in 2021, and she made the film in 2011. So she's talking about totally different time.
Yeah.
I think the rise in Iranian actors and thespians is just growing right
Yeah.
now. But I actually think it's quite valid that in, like, let's say she was making this film in 2010,
Yeah.
it was really hard to find Iranian actors for stuff, right?
Yeah. By the way, I just looked it up.
Yeah.
Khoreshte Alu and and Alu Mosama. There's a lot of places that I'm seeing are saying Khoresh Alu Mosama
Are the same?
is full name, but it seems like it might just be like a regional thing.
Yeah.
Like slight variation of like pretty much the same ingredients, just prepared differently. It looks like it's originally from Gilan, like this version of Khoresh Alu.
Yeah. She was asked, what do you think would happen? Do you think there was ever a version where these two could end up together? Golshifteh Farahani's character and Nasser Ali?
Mm.
And she goes, the only love story that really matters is a tragic one on the ending of this film. She goes, imagine if Romeo and Juliet ended up getting married. They'd have 12 kids and argue until the day they die. And that's not an exciting story. She's like, Romeo and Juliet is only remembered because of the tragic ending. Chicken and Plums is the most dear to her of all of her graphic novels she's ever written. And strangely calls it the most personal, which is interesting.
Have you read
considering
it?
how no. But it's just interesting considering how people really misconstrue Persepolis as being autobiographical, which it kind of is, like in the beats. Right?
Like it feels like Persepolis is like a direct autobiography of like what happened.
But Chicken with Plums is the emotion.
Yes, yeah. Of what was felt.
Yeah, exactly. Which is always more important.
Yeah.
The book, Shahzade Ehtijab, Prince Ehtijab, has been cited as a major influence of her, not just in this film, but all of her works. Written by Hushang Golshiri. She says not only is the book a huge influence, but the film adaptation, directed by who?
Me?
Bahman Farmaner.
Whoa, that's not me at all.
And she said that specific film, and by that director, is like a huge influence on all her works.
That's cool.
The daughter who grows up the gambling addict and had 3 heart attacks. Remember how they talk about the daughter growing up into this woman who's like a card player?
Yeah.
That's based on her mom's cousin. And all of those elements of that story are true, that she actually became a huge card player, had 3 massive heart attacks and wouldn't stop changing her lifestyle and died of a heart attack, had like her 3rd or 4th heart attack killed.
Oh, that's cool.
She says all the pieces of her story in her family are put into this. So like any little like side story about what happened to this character, this one character that moved to America.
Yeah.
Like all of them. This is like, again, like really taking the emotional beats of like what happened to her family.
Do you think she had a relative who was so overweight they didn't realize they were pregnant?
Oh, yeah, possible. Yeah, that's really funny. At one point, they cut to like a sitcom style thing of like living a ridiculous life in America.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Did you catch who plays the older version of Lily?
No.
Chiara Mastroianni, who plays Marjane in Persepolis.
There's the voice?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
The voice in English and in French.
Interesting.
I have one more BTS for you.
I have a few more, but yeah, go for it.
So,
you can throw in one while I look.
Chicken and Plums, the book. So we talked about how her uncle, her dai, played guitar, and in the movie it's a violin.
Yeah.
Do you know what instrument is played in the graphic novel? It's neither one of those.
Sitar? Santuri?
Tar.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Chickens with Plums was shot on a soundstage in Berlin. The film was produced in Germany in 2010 at the Babelsberg studio in Potsdam. The backlot provided the setting for all the interior and exterior scenes in the film.
Shout out.
You're the filmmaker. I'm just a lowly writer. Could you you spot that immediately? Like you just that everything is shot on soundstage, or did you think it's a bit of both, or how did you?
I thought it was a
how
mix.
quickly do you reckon? Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, a lot of times when you're
know-
looking at it makes sense. I could have seen it being like old areas of France or something. But a lot of times when you're watching movies, if you see if you see a street that like is narrow and it just kind of like immediately it like turns around a corner, you know what I mean? Like it's like the end of the street is like a 90-degree turn.
Yeah.
Instead of like an intersection or like going all the way down or whatever. That's a pretty good indication that this is a backlot.
Yeah, of course. Also, weirdly enough, this is strangely not a political film. Like I think Persepolis is much more politically charged. This is more emotional because the film takes place in 1958 Iran. So it's 5 years after the coup, right? Mossadegh. And Nasser Ali has a brother named Abdi who's like described as this communist, leftist Iranian revolutionary.
Yeah.
But they only lightly touch on the politics of that. It's just an interesting choice, considering what's happening in Iran at the time.
Yeah. And then they also talk a little bit about how his son grows up to be like a sheep, which
Yeah.
just kind of goes with the flow.
Yeah.
And like, so he becomes like a fake leftist because it's like popular at the time. And then he like does this other thing because it's popular at the time. Then he leaves Iran and he like assimilates into the US to like fit in. Like he's like constantly assimilating.
Yeah.
And it like shows that this guy's like an idiot, which I think is also supposed to be commentary.
Yeah.
On some parts of our community.
This is it's Satrapi talking about her views on death.
I made it up to this age. I think it's already great. So whatever will come after that is just bonuses. And that from now on, I will live 1 year or 50 years or 20 years. Does not really change anything because I have lived. I have the feeling that I have lived enough, and I think it kind of gives a liberation. Not caring about what is going to come is actually a liberation. So if the bonus is long, better. If it's short, it's still a bonus.
She kind of talked about how she's achieved everything she kind of wanted to do.
Yeah.
She's really attached to heartbroken people and the melancholy of life. She does mention she's obsessed with death. And that quote to me actually like kind of gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
As I listened to it, knowing like she just recently passed away. It's very, again, like this is a film that I happen to just say, I suggested we watch it because of the events, but I didn't realize how closely it is tied to the idea of death. It's a very sadly fitting project to go and visit now.
Yeah.
She says, I did it. So she was asked why she didn't make this film into an animation. She goes, I didn't want to make another animation film because it takes forever. It's a marathon. It takes too long, and I'm not a marathon runner. I'm a short sprinter. For Persepolis, I thought I had to make an animation because it'd be the most international way to tell the story, which I mentioned this in the Persepolis podcast. It goes, once you do it as like abstract drawings, it can be identifiable to anyone in the world. Whereas if you shot it, it feels more French or Iranian or whatever. Last three, just last BTS. Abdi tells Nasser Ali that he saw that there's a new film at the Persepolis Theater. That's obviously a nod to the first film that was written.
Yeah.
The fifth film, Chicken with Plums, premiered in competition in the 68th Venice International Film Festival on the 3rd of September 2011. And last one, I think you're going to like this one. Nasser Ali and several other characters smoke Lazar brand cigarettes. The brand name is an anagram for Azrael, the angel of death.
Oh, that's cool.
Nasser Ali meets this character near the end of the film. Critical reactions. As always, I'm not going to go through all of it, but it was the winner of the Audience Award at the Sao Paulo International Film Festival. Dozens of other awards and nominations. Dublin Film Critics gave it a special jury prize at the Dublin International Film Festival. Two quotes I'll give you is Eric Cohn says, while visually scrumptious, the movie struggles to reach a great profundity that it never quite obtains, but its childlike emulation of a grand tragedy is indelibly precious. Roger Ebert gave this film 4 stars, which is 4 of 4. Chicken with Plums is a grand romantic life story about love, loss, regret, and the sadness that can be evoked by a violin. Not only through music, but through the instrument itself. It is all melancholy and loss and delightfully comedic, with enough but not too much magic realism. The story as it stands could be the scenario for an opera. That's it for critical reactions.
Nice.
Deeper analysis, Faran.
Hey, did you notice, by the way, I forgot to mention this in BTS. Did you notice the utensils they all use to eat? Fork and spoon.
Oh, okay.
A nice little detail.
So you did deeper analysis. You kind of realized your deeper analysis in real time.
Sorry.
It was fascinating.
My bad.
No, it's good. I mean, did you have anything else? That you're saving grace? Because you like, I think you nailed it, and you kind of sort of
I mean, there was the other thing that I also already mentioned, which was the thing about the idiot son becoming, like, getting swept up in the populism of the revolution, and then getting swept up in the nationalism of the war, and then getting swept up in the, like, fervor of the diaspora and, like, assimilation and all this stuff. Like, I think it was very much a commentary on this, like, chunk of the Iranian population that is, like, very susceptible to populism and like brainwashing. And the nice thing is he hits different versions of it. Like he's not a stand-in for like for like monarchs or communists or Islamists or whatever. He's like,
Yeah.
he like kind of weaves in and out of different groups, which makes me think like, oh, this guy's supposed to just be a stand-in for the idea of like people who just blindly follow crowds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Aside from the thing you said earlier about Golshifteh representing the country, the motherland she can never really return to, and the French actors representing the home that she'd started, I think this is like not one that needs too much more deep analysis because it feels like such a slice of life. Like it seems like such a this is just like I'm putting my heart out there on you don't have to dig deeper. It's a slice of melancholic life. And she does have a very clear thesis statement, which she talked about in the interview. She goes, essentially the thesis statement is one can will themselves to death if sad enough.
Right.
Because it's not a concept that many people can think is possible. Like not many people can be like, okay, I'm going to lie down here and die now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
like it's not thought of as possible, but she's like saying, no, you can. And I think she's talking about the capacity to take control over one's life, even if that control is an intentional death.
Yeah.
And I think like that's kind of the thing she was exploring thematically. She wrote this almost over 2 decades ago, and she made the film over a decade ago. And it's just very it's like foreboding, or like it's like a what's the word when it's like a foreshadowing, like a dark foreshadowing of her fate.
Yeah.
She sort of like was kind of putting it all out there.
Yeah. I think it's also good to point out that when he goes and gets the second violin, he tries it in the store and he's like, oh my God, this is perfect. This is such an amazing violin. Right?
Yeah.
And then he leaves the store, bumps into Irene. She blows him off. He goes home to play it.
Oh.
And then it sounds terrible. And then he goes back to the store and he's like, you ripped me off. And the guy's like, what?
You're
but
right.
But you liked this yesterday. And he's like, no, it sounds terrible, blah, 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 blah. Then he goes and he gets the Mozart one, and it still doesn't hit the right spot. So it's this idea that like, because when he meets the instructor, right, he goes to him first and he's like, there's something missing.
Yeah.
And then he experiences heartbreak, comes back, and he's like, that's it. That's what was missing.
Yeah.
Was you need this longing for her.
Yeah.
And then when he runs into her the second time and she's like, I don't know who you are, he loses that.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
why
over.
the violin, every violin afterwards, like he can never sounds correct.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't even because it's funny. They do this like little trick of the editing where you realize you'd missed the scene essentially at the beginning of the film. You missed the scene where he ran into her.
Yeah.
Right? Because he buys the violin and then he goes home and doesn't like how it plays. But you don't realize till the end of the film that between that walk home, he ran into her and had that interaction with her, where Golshifteh pretends that she didn't recognize.
Yeah.
So that's like another bit of the twist reveal. And yeah, you're right to think that it's that moment that makes him lose his ability
that
to
rejection like recontextualizes his relationship with music and with the violin, which I think ties back into this thing of like Marjane goes back to Iran, experiences this rejection.
Yeah.
And I think it recontextualizes her relationship with her culture.
Yeah. Best scene. I kind of have two, so I'd like for you to go first, in case you have one of mine.
My favorite one is Nasser Ali and Abdi as kids.
Oh, okay.
With the teacher, and the teacher is like, he's like, these two are the same, are brothers. This one's the good scene. This one's the bad scene. Everybody, this one's the good seed. Yeah. This one's a bad seed. Everybody clap for Abdi, and then everybody starts clapping for Abdi, and then Nasser Ali's not, and he smacks him on the back of the head, and then he starts clapping, and then he's like, great, now everybody boo for Nasser Ali, and everybody goes boo. And like the way that entire scene is done, it's very stylized.
Yeah, the shadows on the wall and stuff. It almost felt like a moment out of Sin City or something.
Yeah. And even the transition into that flashback, he like walks by a classroom and then the camera pushes into that classroom.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. There's also, I should have mentioned this too. I mean, it's not in my best scenes, but there's a moment where the Azrael, the angel of death, is telling the story about another person that he had once met days before he hit the dome. And that breaks into the Persepolis style animation.
Yeah.
Except in color, which you've never really seen her style in color.
Yeah.
Which I actually quite liked. But it's the story of like
It was
the
in color? I
Sultan's
didn't realize that.
character.
I don't know why in
Yeah,
my
it's all in
memory it's
color.
black and white.
No, it's in color. And I thought it was very interesting to like see that revisited. Like you're back in the Persepolis world for
Right.
this like little story.
Right.
My two best scenes, okay, I'll give like runner up is the scene with the mother passing away and she turns into smoke, the cigarette smoke that travels through the house and out the garden and through the feet. And then it shows like on the day of her death, like where they're burying her on the day of her funeral, you see the smoke cloud just rise from the grave.
Yeah.
There's a line I think I glossed over it in the behind the scenes, but there's she says smoke is food for the soul.
Oh, I missed that. That's cool.
Yeah, there's the one that Isabel Rossellini says, and she said Satrapi said in an interview that was actually a saying that everyone in her family used to say because everyone in her family was smokers,
Right.
and they're like, smoke is food for the soul.
That's cool.
Whenever you smoke a cigarette, you're feeding your soul. When you eat food, you're feeding your body. That's kind of what she was implying. So
That's funny.
that was a nice moment.
As an avid
but I will say,
smoker, how do you feel about that?
I don't smoke. People are gonna think I smoke.
I'm just joking.
I don't. I haven't smoked anything in 15 years. I will say my favorite scene though, and this kind of reminded me. I really thought this was super charming. Is he falls in love with Goldschifte, finds out that Goldschifte is the daughter of this like antique store shop owner, and he goes to buy a clock almost inadvertently. But the only way he can keep returning to that store to like steal glances of Goldschifte is to like keep breaking the clock that he's bought, so they can return it. And the father's getting more and more annoyed because like the clock, there's nothing wrong with the clock, but he'll keep deliberately breaking it. And I thought that was really charming, like as like a little thing. And you know what it reminded me of? I really hope you've seen this movie. Have you seen Tim Burton's Big Fish?
No.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's probably Tim Burton's best movie. I don't care. Don't at me. It's such a good movie. And there's a whole thing. There's a runner in that.
DMs, as you normally do.
Yeah. There's a story. Ewan McGregor falls in love. He's the lead character. He falls in love with the woman of his dreams, and he like Danny DeVito's this like ringmaster of a circus, and so he's obsessed with him. He'll do anything to learn more about her. So like Danny DeVito's like, okay, you come work for me at my circus, and instead of payment for cash, every month I'll tell you one piece of information about her. So it's like he's working, he's like shoveling elephant shit, he's like digging hay,
That's
he's
really
like
funny.
cleaning up clowns and whatever, and then like Danny DeVito walk away like, she likes petunias. And then he walks away and he's like, petunias. And like he holds on to that one thought. Like he'll get like his payment is one fact about her a month.
That's funny.
And it's so heartwarming because he's like, it's like he's just doing all this stuff for like a little bit more of her, like her information. And it kind of reminded me of that, like a Big Fish.
Yeah.
It's a moment from that. We should watch that movie together. I love that.
That's solid.
I saw it 3 times in theaters when it came out. Oh my God. You'll love Big Fish. I think you will.
Okay.
You're a whimsical motherfucker. Go beep that out. All right. Damn, that's poetry. I have a joke one. I said smoke is food for the soul. That's just a runner up. It's a nice one. I have a joke one and a real one. So why don't you go?
I have a joke one and a real one too. Why don't we?
I don't think my joke one's the same.
Why don't we each give our joke ones?
You go with your joke one. I don't think we have the same one.
Okay. My joke one is he goes to buy Mozart's violin, and the guy is like, "I'll tell you what." Like he's like so moved by Nasser Ali that he's like, I will not sell it to you. I will gift it to you for 1,000 toman. And he's like 1,000 toman.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's good.
I have there's a line where he goes, his wife walks in and realizes it's the day one of he's decided to lie in bed and kill himself, and he goes, "What are you doing in bed at this hour?" He goes, "I've decided to die." And she goes, "And where is Cyrus?" Like she just doesn't. She glosses over that first sentence. Like, "Where's our son?" Like she just doesn't care. That was just like a funny moment. But I think the best one. Okay, what's your favorite dramatic one? I feel like we might have the same one. I literally thought this. I typed it down.
Nasser Ali meets who would become his wife, and he's not interested in marrying her at all. Later, it's contextualized why, but the mom tells him,
"D'abord tu te maries, et l'amour viendra avec le temps."
Marry first and love will come in time. And then the narrator says, he did get married, but love never came. And I feel like I vaguely remember that line in Persepolis, the book or the movie. If not, I think the feeling of that is definitely in the movie when she gets married to her first husband.
Yeah. And the one I have is he finally has his heart broken to the point that it's going to make him the greatest violin player that he can be. And his tutor is saying to him, "You see, my son, the love you have lost will be in each note you play."
Vois-tu, mon enfant, désormais, celle que tu as perdue sera dans chaque note que tu joueras. Elle sera ton souffle et ton soupir. Cet amour est précieux, car il est éternel.
She will be your breath and your sigh. The love is precious because it is eternal.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
She will be your breath and your sigh is a great line.
And also from now on, the one you lost will be in every note you play. I'm like, yo.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah. I wrote that down. My phone's going to have the same one.
That became my number one, so I had the other one as a backup.
Best performance.
Who you got?
I don't know, man. I'm a sucker for Goldschifter.
Yeah, I gave it to Goldschifter too.
She's like not in the movie as much as other characters.
I know, but when she's
like scene
there,
stealer, man.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like I fall in love with her when I see her.
And it's
you know
like
I mean?
her performance is the most grounded and poignant of everybody else's in the film. Like everyone is,
and it's
got to
be the emotional. It's got to be the emotional spine.
Yeah.
It's like you have to fall in love with her because our lead characters fall in love with her.
And in so few scenes and so few words, like you need to really believe her heartache. You need to believe her when she's like blowing him off. Like all of that needs to hit. And everyone else's performances are so like stylized that her performance in particular is the one where I'm like, oh shit, this is good.
Yeah. It's very grounded. Good point. Okay, why don't you take me to Festival of Cannes Town?
I already talked about it. It was just that I felt like some of the stylized like backdrops, especially in the first 20 minutes of the film, could have stood to be a little more stylized. Like I think they should have actually leaned into it a bit more. Aside from that, like the story doesn't have a lot, like the actual like plot. A lot of it is like an emotional journey, which I think is great. I don't know. I guess it could have stood to have a little more going on in the story, like a B plot or something. I don't need it.
Yeah, if
I'm like grasping at straws, those are the straws I'm grasping.
My only real thought is like, I'm like conflicted because I do feel like I want to see more Iranians play Iranian characters.
Yeah.
But to the point you made about the French representing, I don't know if that's the intention so much in the books though, because the books don't have casting, right? This is almost like something like retrospectively you can analyze, but I don't know. Anyways, but that's it. I want Iranians playing characters named Nasser Ali.
Yeah. I did have that, and then I took it off when I realized what she was doing.
Right. Double feature lineup.
What's yours?
I have 3, so why don't you go and
you have 3?
The one you've said.
That's not double feature. That's quadruple feature.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long night. Buckle up.
Christ.
Buckaroo. I'll eliminate the one you said because I know you're gonna say one that I already said.
I picked Taste of Cherry.
Yep.
I think it would be a really good follow up to this. I think you watch this first and then you watch Taste of Cherry, and I think it gives you a good end to the night. Because the way that it is right now, like the way that this movie ends, I think stands to send people home really depressed. But I think Taste of Cherry is almost like the remedy to the illness.
Well, I'm going to say, that's a good one. I'm going to say I'm surprised you didn't say Persepolis also as a potential double feature.
I thought that was too obvious.
Another one is Amélie.
I thought of that one too.
If this has that vibe a little bit, the quirkiness and the charm rather. The last one I'll say is a film called The Red Violin. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's by a French director named François Girard. Written by Don McKellar, a noted Canadian filmmaker.
No way.
But it's essentially the story. It's like the story of like various people over 3 centuries. But like it's like this violin is following them throughout time. So it's like in the 1700s, the violin is made and it's in one family, and then the 1800s up until like modern day when it's being sold at an auction. And Samuel Jackson
I have heard of this.
In it. Yeah. It's just like using that motif of a violin as like a central, like, instrument, to use a pun, for like the emotional story through line, There's something interesting. Violin nights. Okay. Would you do a Hollywood remake? I would say nope.
No, yeah, I've said no. But I did write maybe in like a while down the road, I would like to just see like a biography about Marjane Satrapi that like kind of takes. It's kind of like a remake of Persepolis and this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like take the stylizedness of this and take the like plot elements of Persepolis with the emotional elements of this and make a biography of Marjane Satrapi.
Well, what I thought was I kind of really was interested in seeing like how this was done in live action, and it kind of makes me want to think, and this is a different thing now, conversation, but I kind of want to see Persepolis shot in live action.
Oh, interesting. I do not.
Like in this style. I don't know. I thought it'd be interesting. I mean, I maybe don't do anything with her work right now for a bit.
Yeah.
But it just made me kind of curious more than anything. Okay, final thoughts and grades. I'm struggling. I think I got to give it a high B, like a B++, the highest B you can possibly give it. I think the film is a little bit. Satrapi said in an interview, like she kind of finds the movie quite flawed, and I guess she finds it flawed in the way all filmmakers find their own movie flawed. Like you watch it afterwards, and it's like you could take it apart for scenes, or whatever. But I think the film is good. I think I really like how charming it is. I like the different aesthetics used. I don't know what it's missing. It might be just in the script. It's not really missing anything like substantial, but it's not to me hitting the A marks that some of these other films do.
So ultimately,
what about you? So B++. B++.
I'm in a very similar boat. I would give it an A minus.
Great.
I think it's beautifully melancholic. I do wish there was a little more to the plot. It really felt like she was working personal things out with this film, which I don't think is a bad thing. Like it was like nice to see it. There's a quote I read, or maybe I watched an interview, I can't remember, by Ali Reza Khatami, where he's talking about how the best writing comes from experiences that you've been able to learn from, or that you've been able to work through and resolve. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like if you're going through that problem in the moment, I think a lot of times it's hard to find a resolution to that problem for your character. But if you have already gone through that and learned from it, then I think the best writing can come from that. And the irony, obviously, with Marjane's case is that Marjane, I don't think she was able to overcome that in a lot of ways. I think she did to an extent. And I think that the solution to a lot of her heartache was her late husband.
Yeah.
And I think as a result, when she lost her late husband, it obviously affected her really deeply.
Yeah.
Overall, I do think that is a very beautiful film. It's just, goddamn, is it heartbreaking.
We also didn't spend any time talking about Vincent Paronnaud this episode, but I think that's fine. This is about Marjane Satrapi.
Yeah.
I mean, this is her story, her adaptation, very personal to her life. That she wrote and co-directed, and I feel like he deserves all the credit. Very clearly a strong collaborator of hers, but I think today it's about giving Satrapi her flowers.
Yeah, absolutely. So that means the Cinemarex Joe average.
Just give it A minus. We'll go with yours.
Is an A minus.
Chickens with Plums tells the story of Nasser Ali, a man who experiences the ecstasy of true love only once and spends the rest of his life haunted by its absence. In light of Satrapi's passing just days before this recording, it's impossible not to feel the film's melancholy in a new and heartbreaking way. A story once about the dangers of living with a broken heart now feels inseparable from the artist who created it. Co-directors and writers Marjane Satrapi and Vincent Paronnaud, whose adaptation of Persepolis earned an Academy Award nomination in 2008, brings Satrapi's graphic novel to life with a whimsical visual imagination that often feels liberated by live action rather than constrained by it. The result is a storybook vision of Iran populated by poets, musicians, dreamers, eccentric shopkeepers, and old souls, a country preserved in memory, suspended somewhere between history and myth. Satrapi once said that Chickens with Plums was the dearest of all her works. That affection is visible in every frame. Beneath the film's flights of fantasy lies a deeply personal meditation on love, exile, regret, art, and mortality. Nasser Ali spends the film mourning the loss of the woman he loved. Satrapi spent much of her career mourning, in one way or another, the loss of the country she left behind. Both transform that grief into something beautiful. The film ends by suggesting that love survives in the notes we leave behind. It is a fitting sentiment for Satrapi herself. Her voice, funny, angry, romantic, rebellious, and unmistakably Iranian, echoes through Persepolis, Chicken with Plums, and everything she created. Like the music Nasser Ali chases throughout the film, her work remains after the artist is gone, carrying her breath and her sighs forward for the rest of us to hear. Marjane Satrapi, we salute you. Hats off. Rest in peace. And that's everything for today. Farhan June, thank you for watching this film and discussing it with me.
Thank you, Kaveh, for inviting me onto the illustrious Cinema Rex podcast. I'm a big fan of you and everything you do here.
Great to have you as a guest.
I would love to be back on the show at some point if you were...
We'll have you on. I think we've had you on every episode so far, so keep the record going. Thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. Dude, if you haven't seen the film, dude, it's worth a watch. It's an hour and 28 minutes long. It's very fairly short film, but not a short film.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's if you're, one thing I will say is like watching the interview with her, which was an hour long, and stopping it to take notes. I actually like really started thinking like, man, she would have been so cool. Like, it's like I just started missing her more in the sense that like this is a woman I would have loved to have sat and had a coffee with and talked. And I'm hearing her like have this interview. You should check out her interviews too if you're a fan. Like type in Marjane Satrapi Chicken with Plums, a Stanford University interview.
Yeah,
it's really cool hearing her talk and pontificate about life. She was a very interesting, intelligent person, passionate, and she'll be greatly missed in the pantheon of Iranian art.
Yeah, definitely.
But thank you to all you listeners for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on Cinema Rex podcast on Instagram. Like and subscribe on all your podcast platforms. And to everybody else, Be'omi Didar.
Bye. Music for Cinema Rex was written and performed by Sohail Sadinejad.